My anxiety was triggered by home factors, family life. Um, my partner has mental health issues, and over the years, it's been quite a struggle to, deal with that in the family. On top of that, our eldest daughter has a disability, which also has to be managed, and I'm the sole breadwinner for the family, so I have to manage going to and from work and the family issues. So it's basically several things are in silos, but they all intersect. So it's the anxiety of being able to turn up at my workplace at 9 o'clock every morning and do my job effectively. It's the anxiety of issues happen at home during the working day, and I'm not there to provide support or help. It's issues to do with sort of the children and school and my eldest daughter's treatment. And it all came to a head when my partner had a psychotic break. And at that point, I found it extraordinarily difficult to cope. The amount of agencies who were talking to me about what had happened, it just got to a point where I just could not cope with all of it. And on top of my partner having, as I say, a psychotic break, which he was diagnosed with, I then had a breakdown. I just could not cope. And I was, signed off work, which was a good thing. And I think sort of at that moment in time, my GP was absolutely excellent because they recognised that it's not just signing somebody off work and giving them some tablets. They were the ones who passed me on to Steps to Wellbeing. I remember speaking to somebody from Steps to Wellbeing who also suggested the employment service as well, because I was very deeply concerned about losing my job. Or, well, not so much losing my job, not being able to do my job on top of everything else. So, as I say, so it was, I think how I got to a point of recovery was that the GP was very actively involved. Steps to Wellbeing, CBT was very actively involved, and the employment advice service was very actively involved. And sometime after my diagnosis, things got worse for me, really, really bad. Up until that point, I never really understood what depression was. Years ago, I'd read the quote from Winston Churchill about depression being like a black dog. And it wasn't until I was really in, I would say, the depths of it when I realised one day I was sitting on a sofa and it felt like I was staring down a black tunnel. And that was the worst part for me. At that moment, I really realised how ill I was. Because one of the things I think I've learnt from this is that it's very easy to shrug off the illness. It's very easy to go, well, I'm depressed, I'm feeling down, I'm taking these tablets. But it's not until you actually realise the extent of it, that's actually a moment I think you can start to get better. Within the next day or so, I had an appointment scheduled, and it was a telephone appointment. And I was talking to the employment advice counsellor, because that was the advice what he was asking. Went through the questionnaire with sort of like feelings and all of that kind of stuff. And then he was asking me how I was feeling, and I sort of explained. And I think the important thing there was after our appointment, he actually contacted my GP. My GP then contacted me to talk through how I was. And it was that sort of like communication between themselves in a supportive way that I think was was actually the starting point of my recovery. But I will say, sort of, the critical success factors in my recovery was the steps to wellbeing service and the engagement of the counsellors and being able to talk to them, and the fact that they listened and actually acted upon stuff. The GP, my employer as well, they were absolutely stellar in their understanding. And I think that's another thing that helps people to recover, is people understanding what is happening and being supportive with that understanding.